The plea of an alien widow mother. Human, my children are well behaved. I can warm your bed. Zarina stood at the edge of her home, looking out into the vast, open land beyond. The sun was setting, casting a soft orange glow over the horizon, but it did little to ease the deep sadness in her heart. She had lost her partner, the father of her children, just months ago, and now she was left alone with the responsibility of raising them in a world that felt colder without him. Her people had a strong bond to family, and the loss of a partner wasn't something that could easily be healed. It was something that the whole community felt. Her grief wasn't just her own, it was shared by everyone. Zarina's planet, far away from Earth, was a place of traditions. The bonds between partners and families were sacred, and losing a spouse was considered a significant event. In her culture, the widow's role was to keep the family together, raise the children, and uphold the values that her partner once represented. But it wasn't easy for Zarina. With her husband gone, she felt like a piece of herself had been ripped away, and each day seemed harder than the last. As the village moved forward, so did the world around her. However, for Zarina, everything felt paused. Brash. She had 2 children to care for, and while they were well-behaved and kind-hearted, they were too young to understand the full weight of their loss. Every day she woke up and carried on for them, trying to keep their lives as normal as possible. But the loneliness, the void, was always there. Then, one day, a new visitor arrived. A human diplomat, sent by a distant group of humans, came to her village. His arrival was part of a greater mission, one that involved diplomatic talks between their species. Zarina didn't know much about these humans. She had heard stories of their kind, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of meeting one. The human was tall, dressed in strange clothing that seemed out of place on her world. His manner was formal, yet there was a kindness in his eyes that caught Zarina's attention. She couldn't help but feel an odd sense of curiosity about him. She knew this encounter was important. Her people had been living in isolation for so long that they had little knowledge of the humans. The diplomat was there to bridge that gap, to bring understanding and cooperation. But Zarina's mind wasn't on politics or alliances. It was on her family. She found herself wondering if there was a way this meeting could help ease her own burdens. The days passed slowly as the diplomat engaged with the leaders of her village, discussing trade, resources, and cultural exchanges. But Zarina couldn't help but notice how much time he spent alone. She had seen the way he looked at her children, and how he spoke to her, offering little smiles when he could see the struggle in her eyes. There was a silent understanding between them. Something unspoken, but shared nonetheless. Zarina had always been taught that alliances were made through respect and mutual understanding, but this felt different. One evening, when the sun was setting, Zarina found herself standing outside again, looking at the same vast expanse of land, drowned in despair. But today, the silence felt heavier. It wasn't just the absence of her husband. It wasn't the weight of everything she had to carry alone. The world had moved on, but for her, it felt as if she were stuck in a moment from the past. She took a deep breath, feeling the chill of the air. But that's when she saw the human diplomat walking towards her, his steps slow but deliberate. There was something different about the way he approached her this time. He wasn't just another figure to talk to, another person from another world. This time, it felt more personal. "Are you well?" he asked softly as he stopped a few feet away from her. There was something in his voice that was sincere, something genuine. Zarina nodded, not trusting her voice to answer. She wasn't sure what to say. "I've been thinking," the diplomat continued, "about how difficult things must be for you. I can see the pain in your eyes, Desk. I'm sorry for your loss." Zarina's heart tightened. She had expected words of sympathy, but hearing them from him felt different. It wasn't just pity, it was understanding. "Thank you," she said quietly, feeling a lump in her throat. "It's not easy. I have my children to care for, but sometimes it feels as if the weight of it all is too much." The diplomat looked at her with compassion. "You are strong," he said, "but no one should bear such a burden alone. If there's anything I can do, please know I am here to help." Brace. Zarina's heart skipped a beat. His words were kind, but they also seemed like more than just words. Breaths. They were an offer. An offer she wasn't sure she could accept. Her life had been defined by duty and responsibility, but now she found herself facing a new kind of dilemma. Was it wrong to seek comfort, to let someone in? She hesitated. "I don't know if I can accept help," she said, her voice barely above a whisper.
"I have my own way of doing things. My children need me, and I must keep my family strong."
"I don't know if I could." She paused, the words sticking in her throat. The diplomat's gaze softened. "I understand," he said quietly, "but don't forget, you don't have to do it all alone."
"You deserve a chance to rest too." Zarina felt her emotions swell up inside her, a mixture of gratitude and sadness.
She wanted to believe his words, to feel that there was someone who cared. But her culture, her responsibilities, held her back. She couldn't let herself be weak, not for herself and certainly not for her children. The days that followed felt heavy with the weight of Zarina's thoughts. She couldn't shake the conversation with the diplomat from her mind, but his kindness had touched something deep within her. It wasn't just the offer of help, it was the acknowledgement that she was struggling, that her burden was seen and understood. But the more she thought about it, the more conflicted she felt. Zarina had always been taught to rely on her strength. Her people believed in the power of family and the importance of standing tall in the face of adversity. To seek help, to lean on someone else, was a sign of weakness. It was a belief she had held onto for as long as she could remember. But now, facing the harsh reality of life without her partner, she found that strength wasn't enough. Her heart was weary, and her mind constantly spun with worry about her children's future. The human diplomat, whose name she still hadn't learned, had shown her kindness in a way she hadn't expected. He had listened without judgment, offering nothing more than his presence. And yet, Zarina found herself drawn to him. Psst. She couldn't explain it. Was it simply gratitude? Or was it something more? One evening, as the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Zarina stood outside once more, trying to clear her mind. Her children were inside, asleep in their beds, and for the first time in what felt like ages, she was alone. The loneliness crept in, and with it, the doubt. She wondered if there was a chance for her to find peace, a sense of comfort amidst all the pain. Could she open her heart to someone again? Could she let someone help? As if in answer to her thoughts, she saw the diplomat walking towards her once more. This time there was no official duty to discuss, no important matters to address. He was simply walking towards her, his steps slow and calm. Britt. He stopped just a few feet away from her, his gaze gentle. "You're thinking again," he said softly, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. "I can see it in your eyes." Zarina smiled faintly, the first genuine smile she had felt in a long time.
"I can't help it," she replied. "There's so much to think about." The diplomat nodded as if understanding completely.
Life has a way of weighing us down, but sometimes we need to share that weight, even just for a moment. Zarina looked up at him, her heart racing. Could this be what she needed? Someone to share the weight with, even if only for a little while. The diplomat's gaze softened, and he took a step closer. You don't have to carry everything alone. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. I'm not just a diplomat. I am a person, too. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Zarina felt something stir inside her, something that hadn't been there for a long time. Hope. Desk, she felt a flicker of warmth in her chest, the kind of warmth she hadn't allowed herself to feel since her husband's death. She took a deep breath. But maybe, just maybe, it was time to let someone in. Days passed, and a quiet understanding developed between Zarina and the human diplomat. Their encounters became more frequent, but each one felt more meaningful. Zarina had never allowed herself to get close to anyone after the death of her partner. She couldn't, not with the responsibilities of raising her children. But the human diplomat, whose name she still hadn't learned, was different. He wasn't just offering empty words of sympathy or trying to fix things. He simply offered understanding. Zarina's children had taken a liking to him too. Their laughter filled the air whenever he came around. Asking them questions about their day and showing a warmth that made them feel safe. He had a way of making them forget about the sorrow hanging in the air, even if just for a little while. It was during one of these moments, when Zarina's children were playing nearby, that she found herself alone with the diplomat once again. This time she didn't hesitate to speak up. The words seemed to spill out of her before she could stop them. I've been thinking, she started, glancing up at him with a look that was both uncertain and vulnerable. You've been kind to me, to my children, but I still don't know what to make of it all. My people, my culture, teach us to be strong, to face things alone. Asking for help, even offering it, isn't something we're taught. The diplomat listened quietly, his gaze soft and patient. He had grown accustomed to her hesitance, to the walls she had built around herself, and yet he could see the cracks forming. She wanted to open up, but something held her back. I understand, he said after a moment, his voice gentle. Your strength is admirable. But sometimes strength doesn't mean you have to bear everything alone. You're not weak for needing help. We all need it, in one way or another. Zarina looked at him, her heart heavy with the words she hadn't been able to say before. She had been so focused on what was expected of her, so wrapped up in her role as a mother and a widow, that she had forgotten the importance of taking a moment for herself. The diplomat's words made her realize that perhaps it was time to stop pretending she didn't need anything. She needed kindness. And maybe, just maybe, she needed him. I'm not sure I can let go of the weight I carry, Zarina confessed, her voice quieter now. I feel like if I do, I'll fall apart. I have my children to think of. I can't afford to be weak. The diplomat shook his head. Needing help doesn't make you weak, Zarina. It makes you human. It makes you real. For the first time in a long while, Zarina felt something stir inside her. It was a feeling she hadn't allowed herself to experience since her husband passed. A small flicker of hope. Could it be that she wasn't alone, after all? Did someone really understand her pain without judgment? The thought felt foreign, but at the same time, it felt like a lifeline. I've never let anyone get this close, Zarina admitted, her eyes looking away as if she couldn't bear the vulnerability in her own words.
Not since.
Since he passed. I concede that, the diplomat said softly, and I won't push you. But if you ever want to talk, or if you just want someone to listen, I'm here. Not as a diplomat, not as a stranger, but as someone who truly cares. His words were simple, but they held weight. They were a promise, a genuine offer. Zarina felt her heart soften, and for the first time in months she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, things didn't have to be as difficult as they seemed. She didn't have to carry everything by herself. She could lean on someone else, even if just for a little while. The days turned into weeks, and Zarina found herself thinking about the diplomat more and more. She wasn't sure what to make of the feeling stirring within her. It wasn't love. Not yet, anyway. But it was something else. It was the recognition that she wasn't as alone as she had thought. It was the realization that, maybe, the weight she had carried for so long didn't have to be borne alone. Her children continued to grow fond of him. They often asked about the nice human who played with them and told stories. Zarina couldn't help but smile when she saw them so happy, their laughter filling the home. It was a sound she hadn't heard in a long time, and it warmed her heart. One evening, after the children had gone to bed, Zarina found herself sitting outside again, just like she had so many times before. But tonight was different. The air was cooler, the stars brighter, and as she sat in the silence of the night, she felt a presence beside her. She turned to see the diplomat standing there, his expression soft. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice calm. Zarina nodded, not trusting herself to speak at first. She hadn't realized how much she'd been craving this quiet companionship, how much she'd been missing a connection with someone beyond her role as a mother and a widow. For a while they sat together in silence, the sounds of the night filling the space between them. It was comfortable. This silence. It wasn't awkward or heavy. It was just peaceful. And for Zarina, that was enough. She didn't need to fill the silence with words. She didn't need to explain everything she felt. Being here in this moment was enough. "You've been a great help to us," Zarina said softly after a long pause. "My children, they're happier because of you. And I think I am too. I didn't realize how much I needed to let go of, to trust someone again." The diplomat smiled, his eyes warm. "I'm glad to hear that. I can't undo the past, but if I can make things easier, even a little, I'll do it. And as long as you need someone to listen, I'll be here." Zarina felt a lump form in her throat, but this time it wasn't out of sorrow. It was out of a feeling she hadn't allowed herself to experience in a long time. Relief. First, she had spent so many years holding everything inside, thinking that to show weakness would make her less than what she was. But in that moment, she realized that asking for help didn't make her weak. It made her stronger in ways she had never understood before. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "For everything. For not making me feel like I have to do this alone."
A diplomat looked at her with kindness, his gaze unwavering. "You don't." And for the first time in what felt like forever, Zarina believed it.